Hi, everyone. I'm with two very special people. As you all know, it's been a rough go for us at St. Francis as well as every other hospital in New York and even around the world. And I'd just like to hear Steve and Deb talk to us tonight. Deb is just getting back from work. So just a quick history about Deb. She's been at St. Francis, was a staff nurse on the floor, worked her way up, then came up to the cath lab. And a nurse in a cath lab is one of the most technically trained nurses. I mean, they're not like nurses, they're doctors. They probably know more cardiology than most cardiologists, and they're trained very specifically to do an incredible job. And sitting next to her wearing, I don't know why, a Dodger shirt, but he's wearing a Dodger shirt. We'll give him that. It's a Long Island thing, but we'll give him a Dodger shirt, all right? I won't hold it against him. Um, Sitting next to is a husband who's a respiratory therapist. Now, a respiratory therapist is a thankless job. They see patients who are usually the sickest patients. They're offering them treatment all the time and working day in and day out. But in this particular crisis, it's even more dangerous than probably almost anyone else who's working in the hospital. And these two poor souls found each other years ago, and they're working together. Right? They're probably just kicking themselves right now.
Yeah.
Now, Deb, she's a trained nurse doing cardiology interventional procedures. Deb, move a little closer so we can see your face a little better.
Sure.
All right. Perfect. Now you're perfect, guys. Anyway, so he's working in the cath lab, and all of a sudden, where we're doing 100% amazing interventional cardiology, we're now doing 5% of what we did, and now we're doing 85% taking care of patients who are critically ill. And the hospital administration said to staff, we need to put people in different places. You can take off if you want, use your personal time, but there were some amazing people like Deb who said, you know what, I was not trained to sit home. I'm trained to take care of people. And she had to go back to training, and she'll tell us a little about that, to learn how to be intensive care nurse. Now, her and her husband, if you talk about people being on the front line, we as doctors are not on the front line. These two people, what they do, they're on the front line. They're exposed to the highest risk patients, potentially in an area where it's the most exposed, and they're doing that every day. So I'll let you guys talk after the introduction. Deb, what was it like going from a specialized cath lab nurse to now being trained? What'd you have to do?
Well, I went to a 2-day review class for critical care, which basically covered a lot more training on the paralytics, the type of meds we're using with these type of patients, because we're paralyzing them, not only sedating them, but paralyzing them and proning them. So we learned basically how to do those things quickly, along with synchronizing vent, the medication changes and adjustments, so these patients can recruit some of the lung capacity that they lost due to the COVID-19. So they're intubated, sedated, paralyzed, sometimes prone position. So it's kind of interesting. So we learned how to deal with those type of patients. That was 2 days. And then I went back on the floor to do some hands-on training for 3 shifts. And now I'm just taking care of these patients by myself.
Sort of like in World War I or II, where you took a kid out of school and then said, here's a gun, here's how you shoot it, go on the front. And
Exactly.
that's basically what you did, and you still
Mm-hmm.
So Deb, when you get dressed to go into battle, could you tell
Right.
everybody who's listening, because you hear all these things about protective things, but what do you wear? How do you get dressed, and how do you get the stuff off? Tell us.
Right. So to go into the rooms, we wear, for PPE, we wear our N95s, which we're fit tested in size 4. We wear a surgical mask over that. We wear goggles or face shields, depending on what you prefer. We also wear, obviously, jumpsuits, because once we're in these rooms with the patients, we don't want our clothes, like our scrubs, as we describe, underneath exposed to the germs. So we wear these like spacesuits. They literally look like painter suits, you know what I'm saying, when a painter comes in, so they splash. And then we go in with gloves, obviously, and then we take care of the patient. And then when we come out, we just leave all that stuff kind of in the room and come out, and we keep that stuff in the room. And that's how we prepare ourselves to go in the room. And we use it for the day. And then after we're done for the day, we use this spray to decontaminate it. And we hang it on a clothesline in the unit that we worked on. And we wear it again the next time we're there.
Doesn't sound like an ideal situation, but there are
No.
limited resources. So, it's amazing just to hear that. And just to understand, because you hear stories, but you're in there. I'll get to you, Steve. I won't forget you, even though you're wearing that Dodger shirt. Okay.
No, that's all good.
And I got to work with her eventually when she gets back to the cath lab. I have to be nice to her. But when you're in there with patients, what's tragic is they have a total of 0 visitors, correct?
Yeah. 0 visitors,
You're
yes.
the visitor. You're the visitor. And you
Yep.
come in looking like someone from, I mean, it's bad enough when a patient's in an ICU and they have the human touch that a nurse gives them. But here you're in a jumpsuit. So
Right.
they don't even have that, and they don't have the visitors. It's just a situation that's hard to describe. Now, Steve, you are a respiratory therapist. Could you tell everybody what that is? Because most people probably don't know what that entails. What are you doing every day? I mean, I imagine you get into the same kind of garb that Deb gets into. What do you do when you're getting to work? What type of activities are involved?
Well, actually, as the respiratory therapist, I actually am the assistant director in respiratory. So I had to come from behind the desk, put the scrubs back on, and get out into the patient care areas. As Deb described, we put on the same stuff as she does every day with the N95, the surgical mask, the face shields, the respiratory. And, our patient load has tripled. We are spending more time with these patients in attempting to optimize them on these ventilators. So we're assisting anesthesia, who's doing most of the intubations. But if we have multiple intubations in the hospital, we're performing them. With the assistance of a second respiratory therapist in those rooms.
So the message that I've been saying over and over with all these different interviews, and we had different interviews, is when they get to the two of you, we're in a pretty serious situation. Once they get vented and Deb has paralyzed them, put them in prone, and you're organizing everything with the respiratory therapy, I mean, the reality of this isn't a Disney movie and everybody comes home happy. This is a tragic situation we're facing. So the key message that we need to get out to people is follow the rules to segregate. You want to keep away from people. You want to protect yourself. You want to wear masks and gloves. I go outside and I still see people not doing that. And you guys see what it's like if they don't follow those rules. So,
Yes.
and that's really critical. But, on TV, on the radio, you hear about the heroes and everybody's cheering everybody. And, I feel a little guilty. I feel more like a social worker, not that there's anything wrong with social workers. I feel more like a social worker than a doctor. And when people say to me, oh, you're the hero, I'm not really the hero. I'm looking at 2 heroes right now. You people put your life on the line every day. And when I'm asking everyone who's watching this, it's because of these people that people are being taken care of. And we need you to help out by donating anything you can. And I thank you guys, and I'm looking forward to you getting back in the cath lab so I can torture you there. And
Thank you.
Great holiday. Thank you for doing this, guys.
Thank you. You got it.
You got it.